who took about 180 million of African people as slaves, and 88% of them died and were thrown overboard into Atlantic Ocean. Not Muslims.
Who were the people who started slavery in the 7th century, who, according to historians, enslaved more Africans than the Europeans did during the transatlantic slave trade? The OG Muslims, Arabs. Who were the people whose success during their slave trade inspired the transatlantic slave trade? The OG Muslims, Arabs. Who were the people who, during their slave trade, were castrating African men and raping their women? The OG Muslims, Arabs. Who are the people who have been practicing slavery the longest? It's been going for centuries now. Until this day, May the 5th, 2023, still haven't abolished slavery. The OG Muslims, Arabs. Who are the people who have products with racist names inspired by their history of slavery? The OG Muslims, Arabs.
I can't say on TikTok. It's gonna trigger people.
Oh, he won't tell you. Don't worry, I'll tell you. It's called Ras El Abid, which translates to head of a slave. It's crazy how this video was made by an African man in an attempt to defend the title and identity Muslim. But this is what we get when history isn't properly taught. We have a group of people from our community who are willing to go the extra mile to defend, fight for, and die for an identity that they have no business fighting for, an identity that brought their ancestors so much pain, suffering, and trauma. Because now it is their new identity. The same identity who only came to you because the OG of said identity did this. And this slave trade is also called the Arab Islamic slave trade. The religion is tightly interwoven into the title because it played a major role.
I have the answer to a question you didn't ask, and the question is, where are all the Africans in the Middle East? I'm talking about the descendants of Africans who were removed from the African continent to be enslaved in the Middle East. In different parts of the world, we can see the descendants in regions like North America, South America, the Caribbean, French or English speaking, and more. According to the Senegalese historian Tidiane Diaye, the Arab slave trade took way more people out of Africa compared to the transatlantic slave trade for a period of 13 centuries. His book is called Le Génocide Voilé, translation, The Veiled Genocide. According to the historian, one of the reasons why there's not much research about the subject is because African elites who subscribe to the same belief system would rather keep it that way. Now you see, this is why it's important to know your history, because if you knew this, you would understand why African domestic workers in the Middle East are treated the way they are, and why Africans in some parts of this continent are treated because...
Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's okay to stereotype Muslims as terrorists. I'm saying if you want to talk about the atrocities of the past, you must talk about all of them. Don't exclude any group because now you share the same identity with them. African Muslims, you may not like to talk about this history because of your bias, but know that people like us won't sweep it under the rug like you do.